the 2018-19 proposed budget and tax rate signed up prior to the start of this meeting. There will be an open forum later this evening, at which time other topics may be presented. 30 minutes have been allotted for this public hearing forum. The time allotted will be divided equally among those requesting to speak, but no presentation may exceed 5 minutes. A time clock is visible on the podium so that each speaker may see the time remaining, and Board Member Ashley Vann will alert you when 1 minute remains. As I announce your name, please come to the podium, state your first and last name for the record. Our first speaker this evening is Ms. Susan Wallace.
Look at that, 5 minutes. Wow. Boy, I feel like I've been given a gift, really. So I didn't really prepare a lot, but I did have a few questions about funding. We talked about the state funding. You know, there's over $300,000 we could find in that penalty that we're going to have to suffer thanks to the severance package y'all voted for the Dr. Mr. Where is he? He's not here. No. Yeah, so that's over $300,000 in state funding that y'all are electing to lose. I really do appreciate the 2 new faces. I hope that the time on the dais doesn't tarnish you. It's obviously tarnished a few people here that might be no longer here in about a year. For the 5 of the last 6 years, you've been here this long, so this has all been under your heading for sure. The spend on general administration has grown at a faster rate than the student population. The 2018-19 school year is projected to have 41% increase in the general administration spend per student compared to the 2012-2013 year. Money is money. It doesn't matter if it's public or private. So why is the spend per student on general administration increasing for the 2018-19 school year when the spend on transportation per student was decreased year on year? I have a lot of time, so I can wait. Also, I know that y'all don't like to answer questions, but that you can, so let it be shown, let the record show that no one wants to answer a question. Okay. Why is the growth in the spend on general administration outpacing the student population growth so consistently? Let me repeat that just so you get it all. Why is the growth in the spend on general administration, like paying all the people over here, these positions that have been created in the last few years, why is the general administration outpacing the student population growth so consistently? I mean, just blowing through the money. Let the record show, no answer. Is the BOT planning, Board of Trustees, if you're not sure what that means, is the BOT planning any control measures to ensure that the spend on general administration does not continue to trend of growing at a faster rate than the student population? That might be for the man ignoring me over here. Let the record show, no one wants to answer. Maybe you can answer this one. It's pretty simple. Is the Education Support Complex, commonly known as the ESC, is it the same as general administration? Not even the 2 new people. No one's going to answer that. Is the ESC the same as general administration? No. Let the record show, no one wants to answer that one. So they either don't know the answer or they're just not willing to share something that simple with a constituent. I urge the 2 new board members to look back at the January and February meetings. Look and see how the board members spoke to the people that came up to talk. Let that be a lesson on how not to speak to the constituents and the taxpayers of our community. I spent last year over $5,000 in just the school taxes, okay? I'd like to know, 50% of that went to paying all these positions that y'all have created in the last few years, or roughly. Correct me if I'm wrong. No one wants to. So I'm going to leave it for a minute and 18 seconds because I just didn't know I was going to have 5 whole minutes. I'll be back up here, though.
Thank you, Ms. Wallace.
Madam President, we have a factual response with facts here from our CFO.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Cram.
Yes, from the records that I have here now, From the records I have here now, I'm on the fly here, so I see that our per-student general administration expenses have actually gone down since the 2010-2011 school year. There are ebbs and flows where they go up and down, but overall, they've gone down since then.
I was
per
talking about
student.
12 to 13 from now.
Speaker has voluntarily left the podium.
You have.
An administrator is exercising public policy to do a
And
response.
you've interrupted me the last
I didn't
3
make
times
her
I
leave the
spoke.
podium. She chose to leave the podium. I want the policy enforced.
Yes, Ms. Wallace, you have chosen to leave, so they're going to answer you with the factual
There's a
statements.
policy that y'all are going to enforce, not make up something like last time.
Ms. Wallace, you've been warned by the board president.
Okay, we were talking about 12 and 13, not 11.
Ms. Wallace, please have a seat so that they can answer you with the factual statements.
That's, I've got where expenditures in instruction have gone up by a significant amount per student. Instructions from that year have actually gone down by $2 per student. Again, there are years that it's gone down further, and there's good years that it's gone up. It depends on, our staffing plan and how we staff for students and the amount of number of schools that we open, et cetera, because it costs a lot more money to open 4 schools in 1 year than it does a year where we have none. So when we're growing, and some years we grow at 3,000 students, some years we just grow at 1,500 students. And so those ebbs and flows will happen, but they're pretty consistently from the data that I show, from going back years, it's pretty consistent that our percentage spend in instruction is pretty consistent, and our percentage spend in administration. Yes, we add administrators, but we add students too. And so we do need administration to help guide the school district. And so those have grown proportionally when you look at information found in our audits that are on the webpage. And those are in line with surrounding districts. Again, there's different stories that can be told from one year to the next in any district, but over time it's been pretty consistent. We also look at the Texas Education Agency calculates the administrative cost ratio, and we have historically done pretty good when it comes to the administration cost ratio. In fact, in October, we'll do our school's first report, and I'll speak to that. But we could have administrative cost 2.5 to 3 times what we have and still score okay from a school finance standpoint. I think that's a little much and exaggerated because that would, we don't need that much staff, but we could and still score okay in that. But we do historically do pretty well in that calculation.
Thank you, Mr. Smith, for clarifying that.
And I'll be glad to visit with you and provide.
Ms. Wallace, you cannot speak from the audience.
I do.
Thank you for understanding.